He's on the clock.
Oh, he is. Okay.
No, he's not on the clock, but he's got shows to do later. He's got pickup after school. Oh,
hold on, real quick.
Put him in the big square.
There we go.
Put him in the big square.
What's up, my friend? How are you? Welcome back.
Hello, boys.
Good to see you, Brad.
Hello, guys. Great to be back. Love when Matt is on a rant. Unfortunately, that was very entertaining. Unfortunately, I'm on Sherapan's side. I was just now listen, former college baseball player. I still coach. I can't. Matt, you're ultimately right, but I can't side with you. I was at a minor league game on Saturday, a no-no into the sixth. We're all elbowing and talking, not saying it, elbowing. All of a sudden, a daughter of one of my buddies in front said, well, what am I looking at? The guy's throwing a no-hitter, so what? Boom, hit came right after that. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
See,
Matt.
So if I say it on Twitter, but 20 other accounts, including numerous sports betting accounts, all alert everybody. No hitter, no hitter. Bottom line, ESPN, no hitter, no hitter. Who ultimately is to blame? Who's the jinx then?
You.
Well,
Me? Just
you.
because
Yeah.
I'm more powerful than all of them.
A lot of juice with you, Matt. A lot of juice.
Oh, damn.
No
Okay. I'll take that crown. Let's go. All right. Let's go.
All right. We've got a lot of things to talk about, B. How, by the way, the beard looks exceptional right now. You really
Thank you, sir.
Working
Preseason form. Yeah. Right.
Outstanding. First off, so I reach out and, we'll get to the Penn State, West Virginia thing because I know you've done a deep dive into that because you talk about West Virginia and sports every day back home. But can you tell us a little bit about this backup quarterback for the Bears? He just made the team. P-Roll put it in the rundown before you and I spoke. Him and I are ham and egging on all this other stuff. I said, you're not going to believe this. B. Howe has some insight into a kid who played at Shepherd University. Is it
Tyson Bagdon?
Bagent. Bagent is how you say it. Tyson Bagent. Yeah, and Matt's on it. I mean, that's the story of the NFL yesterday on Cutdown Day, guys. Undrafted free agent signed by the Bears, didn't just make the roster, but he's sitting there as QB2 right now. I realize they're going to sign a veteran in there to bring some help in, but the guy's outstanding. So I'll give you some quick background here before we get into Penn State and West Virginia. He's from Martinsburg, West Virginia, which is about as big a football factory as West Virginia has. They were on a recent 10-year streak where they won 8 state titles. They've been outstanding. They just roll through everybody. But normally in that situation, they have not produced a ton of Division I guys, as the state of West Virginia doesn't in general. And when the state produces Division I guys, it's generally linemen that have some size. In fact, West Virginia's got 3 of them on its starting 5 offensive linemen right now. But skill position guys, you see a lot of talented football players in this state, but generally it's the size that gets them. Well, Bagent wasn't that way. He was 6'3", could throw it in high school, was absolutely dominant, set every record, won Player of the Year awards, yet didn't get any recruiting offers. West Virginia flirted. Marshall flirted. Those are his words. Talked to him a little bit, but no real firm offers. Albany and Robert Morris were his 2 offers coming out of high school, which is amazing because the guy could flat out play. So he goes to Shepherd University, a Division II school right near his hometown of Martinsburg, and just flat lights it up for 4 years. He won the Harlan Hill Award, the Division II Heisman, his junior season, and then guys entered the transfer portal. And that was very interesting. He hit the portal, and West Virginia went hard after him. WVU wanted him this last summer, before last season, to come in and be the quarterback. However, Bagent decides he's going to stay at Shepherd. My guess in that had a lot to do with that West Virginia couldn't guarantee him a starting position, and he wasn't going to make that move if he wasn't guaranteed a starting position. So he says, you know what, guys, I already have NFL scouts looking at me. I'm going to go back to Shepherd. He lit it up again, had another unbelievable season, and then you saw what happened. He has a great pro day. He caught some steam behind him, and then a wonderful preseason. He ends up a Chicago Bear. So it's a great story of perseverance and getting through, but there's a little sidelight story to this too, and I encourage people to go back and Google this or get on Twitter or X and find this, because there was a neat video put out yesterday, and it highlights the other part of the Bagent story, which is pretty funny. His dad is a 20-time world champion arm wrestler.
No
and
way.
he's outstanding on the mic. He is a WWE type of character. He's incredibly fun to listen to, and an arm wrestler, and has been Tyson's whole life. So he grew up watching that. So it's a really fun, neat story. All of us here in West Virginia are pulling for the kid. And here's the thing, guys, undrafted out of that Division II school. He's a flat out hell of a football player. Watch for him. I think he's got a chance to actually make an impact in the NFL.
Would you pick him up in a fantasy draft as a backup plan?
No, you can't do that. Now, don't get too crazy. No, you can't do that.
What are you talking about? Here's the question, though, Brad, because I can't figure this out. So he goes to the combine. He's undrafted rookie coming out. He goes to senior day. His name being Bagent, it's a B. So on the senior day alphabetical roster, he's right at the top. He was working out before all the big names came behind him. So the scouts were there to watch the other guys, and they started to go, who is this kid who threw for 159 touchdowns, which broke the record for touchdown passes across all Division I, all three levels of D1 football? He broke them all. He goes to camp. He wins the job. They cut the veterans. He stays there. But how did he not get recruited? This is what's so strange to me, because was there baggage? Was there grade problems? Like, a kid this size with this type of talent normally doesn't stay at Division II for very long.
Yeah, I agree, and I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't. I did his state championship game back, and somebody can fact check me. I don't even remember the year, but during that game at halftime, the Martinsburg coaches were right next to me. I mean, they're 6 feet away from me in a booth. Before the game, I said to them, what's the deal with Bagent? Why aren't there more offers here? I'm not an NFL scout, but that's a Division I quarterback. Size, arm, can make all the throws. He's got it. Someone's not taking a chance on him, and yet they didn't. And he was the guy that likes that area. He wanted to stay close to home, and he just figured Shepherd was the place that he could go light it up and get to where he was going. Again, I mentioned he entered the transfer portal after his junior year to look around, but I think at that point, if you're not guaranteed a job in a system that you can thrive in, I think he made a smart move. There was already talk of him when he won the Harlan Hill Award. There were scouts at every one of those Shepherd's games. They absolutely knew who Tyson Bagent was. So he needed a perfect situation to move from Shepherd, and frankly didn't get it, went back and lit it up, and there's his path. But Matt, you're right. That's 100% miss on basically every Division I school out there not named Alabama or Ohio State, because the kid can flat play, as you can see.
Wow. All right, swing it to the school in West Virginia and the game that they have coming up against Penn State. And we've talked so many times about Penn State. Matt's on their season wins over 9.5. As the White Sox go ahead 5-4. He's not a jinx. I'm praying he's not a jinx. I don't want him to be a jinx. Really. Keep saying it. You're killing me. But Howe, what are you looking at for the West Virginia game for Penn State? Because the original plan was I was going to come back, pick you up. We were going to get in a car, drive, tell the wives we were good. You drive. I just sit in the passenger seat. That's 100% happening. How's this game breaking down? What's going to happen?
All right, let's dive in here. And first of all, the biggest dog of the day is you wearing Orioles, not Penn State stuff. I am absolutely stunned. You've got a 3-touchdown favorite, and you're not decked out in all blue and white. So that's a major upset.
It's Ravens Day today on the show. We're breaking down the Ravens season wins. I will not wear the Ravens stuff unless completely forced to. I conceded for my man Kevin, the supervisor at the Circa, who's a diehard Baltimore guy, and wore the Orioles stuff. That's why.
Fair enough. I thought you'd bring it at me, though, since we always go back and forth on Penn State.
We're a huge favorite. There's no chance that West Virginia's going to go in there and even cover the spread, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, hold on here. You want to try and build a little bit of a case here? I'll say, let's just start here. Matt's over win total. Matt, I like that pick too. I think Penn State is flat out loaded. They should be in every discussion about Big Ten contenders, national title contenders. They are absolutely loaded at every position in Happy Valley at night. First game of the season against a West Virginia team that has a ton of questions. So you're right. I don't know that there's any way West Virginia can walk in and get a win over the world champion Nittany Lions. It's an impossible situation. Here's the thing, Dave, you've been around a long time. West Virginia has gone in there with really loaded teams and hasn't been able to get a win. I mean, you're talking since the 50s since it happened. So this is a huge challenge. West Virginia has a ton of question marks going into this season. Its win total is suppressed. the national narrative is that this team is not going to be very good and that Neil Brown's on the hot seat. So to start with, the talent gap seems pretty massive here in this case. Here's the thing that you look for if you're West Virginia and you're trying to cover the spread. Because I think if you're the Mountaineers, you go in and listen, WVU was not built on moral victories. But this is one of those cases where you need to get out of there with a moral victory and not get crushed because you've got a heck of a tough September coming up with Pitt right around the corner, by the way. So if I'm West Virginia and I go in with a first-time starting quarterback or a new starting quarterback, he started a couple games last year in Garrett Green, that's where this all starts. And you're getting a defense that I think is not only the best West Virginia will see all season, it might be the best defense in the country. They're loaded at every level. They've got a pass rusher that's elite. They've got linebackers that are elite. They've got 2 cover corners that are outstanding. So West Virginia scoring points in this game, I think, is going to be really difficult. I can't imagine West Virginia can get up over 17 points in this particular game. So let's start there. You like team total under? You already want to go that way?
Yeah. Team total under. I mean, the total in the game's 50.5. The spread is up to 20.5. There's nobody that's taking the Mountaineers plus the points.
Yeah, I don't you think the number goes higher? Does it get up to 3 touchdowns before kickoff?
Oh, for somebody's testing the waters. I mean,
yeah, I think it does too.
South
I think at
Point
that
already
point
has here in Vegas, and that's the way it's going. Yes.
If it's that point, I might have to take a little piece of West Virginia at that point. And here's the hope if you're trying to build that narrative for West Virginia as a dog at a 3-touchdown dog. On the offensive side of the ball, and I'm nitpicking here because I think Penn State's loaded on both sides of the ball. But if I'm going to nitpick, there's a couple areas offensively that Penn State has to show you. One, the talented Drew Aller is supposedly getting the start. James Franklin won't announce that he's starting, but everybody thinks Drew Aller's starting. Flat out stud, right? Makes every throw. He's got everything you want. Size, arm, can throw from every arm angle. Outstanding. The offensive line, maybe a little bit of a question here for Penn State. They've got a top 10 pick at left tackle. The rest of their line has played a ton. They've got a lot of experience, a lot of games played. But if you go by the PFF grades or talk to people around that program, they need to see some improvement and some step forward from everybody else along that line. Now, West Virginia's defensive line has a ton of questions with it, so maybe that neutralizes out and they're still fine. Wide receiver for Penn State. They lost a bunch of guys. They're putting some transfers in place, some new guys at receiver. Is that receiving core ready to go and make big, consistent plays? The challenge, though, for West Virginia to keep it close, we know about those 2 running backs. You've been telling me about Nick Singleton now since he was in high school.
Ruby was telling us about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, as advertised. 1,000-yard rusher last year. 750 of those 1,000 yards came after contact. So he's a dude. 75% of his yards come after contact. So West Virginia is smallish defensively, especially linebacker and safety. They come down against a Penn State line that has some size, some good tight ends, big tight ends. If I'm Penn State, I am running, and then I'm running some more to set up the play action, which is part of why, Dave, I think you've seen that total come down from 53.5 down to 50.5. West Virginia's strength is on the offensive line. 3 really talented potential pros on the offensive line, a couple other guys mixed in, all 5 starters returning, a mobile quarterback for the first time under Neil Brown. West Virginia wants to run it as well. So if they have some success on the ground and Penn State does, you may see some limited possessions here.
I like the under that game for sure. Also with the clock. What do you make of that after week 0? Because if folks don't know this, and you should know this, you're betting football this weekend, the clock is not stopping after a first down. This is the NFL rule where the clock will stop. Well, kind of. It's a hybrid NFL rule because the clock stops after a first down inside of 2 minutes of either half. The NFL doesn't do that. Did you feel like the games were faster? Unders went 4-3.
They did
in the first week of college football. Do you think that gets, continued, or is offense is going to come back to life when the better offenses are on the field?
It makes sense that it should matter, right? Except those folks that crunched those numbers found it shaved 3 minutes off the game time overall. So did it really affect? Matter. It came out to 5 or 6 plays per team. So no, I think the answer really is it's negligible at this point, which is a small sample size. I get it, but I think it's negligible, Matt.
Yeah, the books overreacted with all their numbers. Like, for instance, I've been talking about this all summer, but Drake May's numbers. Last year, he threw for 4,300 yards for North Carolina. He lost 2 receivers to the NFL, but he's got 3 really good ones to throw to. He could be the first pick in the draft. His number went from 4,300 down to 3,150 because of the rule change. Like, that's insanity. Like 1,200-yard difference. I thought it was a complete overreaction by the sports books. And I think we're going to quickly, after week 1, realize that it's not going to be that big of a difference.
Yeah, and I think teams that want to play tempo are just going to pick it up a little bit, and they're going to get up to the line of scrimmage, and they're going to snap the ball, and they're going to adjust too. So I'm with you. Until I see differently, just going off that week 0 numbers, I don't think it's a big deal at this point. But I think in this particular game, the under's absolutely the way you have to look. Now, the fear, when you're holding that under ticket, the fear is going to be those 2 running backs from Penn State. If they could bust off a 53-yard or a 65-yard long run at any moment. So both, if you're on the dog side with West Virginia and the under, you're just holding your breath that West Virginia can get guys to the ground once they make contact with Allen or Singleton.
Yeah, big plays. If there's big plays in this game, that's the recipe for the game going over. West Virginia's run game is going to take a step on the next level. Tyler Wyatt in the chat just said that they have top 2 Big 12 potential running back offensive line combination. His projected number is 18, so it's going to fall right around the number.
Real quick, let me give you 2 numbers here, though, Dave, to back that up. Number 1,
are you doing this PFF, all this other? Are you deep into the weeds, like you like to say, where you're doing all this research, and now you have to show me all of the things that you like to
I did, but I won't bore you guys with that. I'll do that on our own show. I won't give you all that. I'm just going to give you a number if you like the under. So went back over the last 30 games, okay? Last 30 games for Penn State. When they've had a total of 53.5 or lower, 53, and I did that number because that's where it started, 53.5 or lower, when being a 20-point favorite at home, they're 1-6. It's 1-6 against the spread.
That's not
Penn State is. So if you like the dog side,
this is a totally different Penn State team than we've seen.
Really tell them,
I kind of would throw that out the window and say this is not the same Penn State team that we've seen in years past. I have a question I'll ask you about West Virginia though, because we talked to Chris Williams, who, like you, covers one school very closely. Chris is an Iowa State guy. Right. It's been a horrible summer for him. He said it's been absolutely awful for the gambling scandal, but also because of realignment and what the Big 12 is going to look like. Who is going where, who is joining what conference. How does West Virginia feel about their current stature? And do they think that they may be looking to either move, stay, or are they okay with their current position in the Big 12?
Yeah, so a couple ways to unpack that, and I'll answer it this way. No, they're not looking to move right now because, quite frankly, the Big 12 is now the 3rd most stable conference. The ACC is the one that has been thrown into chaos. Are they adding? Are they not? What's Florida State doing? Does Miami want out? What's Clemson doing? So, no, West Virginia feels comfortable in its setting. The Big 12 has been very good for West Virginia, not just because it threw it a life raft when the Big East exploded, but because up until this latest round of expansion, these schools are all very similar. They're not even remotely close to West Virginia in geography, but other than that, they're really the same place. Kansas State, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, go right down the list. Schools and fan bases very like-minded to West Virginia. So it's actually been a really good fit for WVU outside of the obvious geography, which has been a mess, and it's a really difficult spot to be in. Now you're adding UCF in, you're adding Cincinnati, which is great for West Virginia because it's a close rival that you've been in a conference with before. That's excellent. As far as adding in the West Coast teams, it's kind of guys from a West Virginia perspective. Okay, that's fine. And that's no disrespect to any of those teams, but it's just further away from WVU. So the realignment discussion from a West Virginia side of things is simply this. If it stabilizes the Big 12, if it means the Big 12 can last and West Virginia is not left outside looking in like an Oregon State or Washington State, then realignment is good and fine, and the Big 12 made a good move to stabilize itself. Outside of that, it's kind of a shoulder shrug when you talk about the schools that have come in.
Would they block Pitt joining the Big 12?
No, there's a couple schools of thought, and I think the short answer is no, because it brings back an obvious rival that is close, and you'd love to play that game every single year, which is now back on the schedule. So no, I think that they would welcome that. There's a lot of fans that say, hey, listen, screw Pitt, screw Syracuse, screw Boston College, and the whole ACC. They left and didn't want us. We don't want them. They can die on the vine. They can be left out. They can get sent to a group of 5. But cooler heads would prevail. Yeah, if Pitt was available, that'd be great. And I think, listen, this is me talking. This is my opinion. But if there was a way, if we were going to get even bigger conferences and the ACC does continue to be unstable, if you could bring a North Carolina State, even a Wake Forest, a Syracuse, a Pitt, back into the Big 12 fold, break that thing off into 2 pods or division, and now West Virginia is part of more of an East Coast division of the Big 12. That might be the ideal situation. That's obviously pie in the sky. There's no indication that that's in the forefront. But when it comes to realignment, Dave, what's your line? What do you like to say all the time?
Nobody knows shit.
Yes, and that's 100% true, guys. I'll give you a real quick story, then we'll get out of here. This is a quick story on conference realignment the last time it happened. I was still in the athletic department at WVU. We were playing a game at Maryland. I'm in the press box. There was a meeting happening. The Big East commissioner was there at the time. There was a meeting taking place, a call with all the athletic directors. The decision makers went into a room and got on a call. The West Virginia representative walked out into the hallway. I was standing there. I said, "How are we? Everything good? We okay?" He looked at me and said, "Everything's fine. Nobody's leaving. We're all good." 2 hours later, the Big East collapsed. So the person in the room did not know what was happening because of all the lies being told. So, Dave, your line, I laugh every time you say it. It's 100% true in most situations. When it comes to conference realignment, it's the ultimate nobody knows.
Oh, my God. Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
B-How, where are you from originally?
West Des Moines, Iowa.
Have you ever heard of anyone having a petition to ban them from being on the airwaves anywhere, let alone in Des Moines, Iowa, ever in your life?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
That would be my honor.
This guy, the non-jinx, used to do the radio in Iowa.
Yeah, I knew that.
Blaze the trail of glory. We're going to go back because we had Chris Williams on from Iowa Everywhere and all these other things. And I know you grew up there. Can you just tell the people who are watching, like the Iowa people, they're nice people.
I told you what Iowa nice was. You didn't believe
Salt
me.
of the earth. Salt of the earth. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's Iowa nice. It's real.
Iowa nice. Tell Pete B-How, because B-How will tell you if this is true or not. What is Iowa nice, Matthew?
He knows this. Iowa nice is what people call the way Iowa people are to other people. They're just nice people. It's a brand that they love to push, and it got popular about 10 years ago. Iowa nice.
Is this true, B-How?
Very nice. Tremendous people. Tremendous people.
The Iowa State.
You need to go back and go to a game in
Iowa.
Iowa City or go to a game in Ames.
True.
You'll see
He
it.
does.
It's wonderful. They're both great venues.
Is Northern Iowa going to win the game against Iowa State the first week?
I can't imagine, but I mean, Iowa State now, UNI is traditionally a really good FCS program. They have had a lot of high points. Iowa State's a little bit of a mess right now. What are they doing? How many people are playing? Who's quarterbacks? My guy Rocco Becht quarterbacking. What are they doing? I can't imagine Iowa State loses the game.
Quarterback? Is that your guy?
That's our guy. His dad is a former West Virginia tight end, was a first-round draft pick of the New York Jets, played in the league for a long time. He's now the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks, one of my very good friends. His name is Anthony Becht. So, yeah, his son is Rocco, and West Virginia was on Rocco Becht. They liked him a lot, ended up going with a backup that's here, a 4-star out of Arizona named Nico Marchiol, who's still here at West Virginia but did not win the starting job. Instead of Rocco chose to go to Iowa State, and he's in position to start.
Dave, we may need to talk to his friend because A.J. McCarron, that story with the Battlehawks was so damn good last year with him, the quarterback. Remember we talked about it, about what he was doing, about him wanting to play for his sons. He didn't care about the money. Because I made enough money. Just want to play football for my sons to be able to watch me play football. I'm a big fan of that team. Big fan.
Matt, you should have Anthony on then. He's a former ESPN commentator as well. He still does New York Jets preseason games on TV with Ian Eagle, but he was an ESPN college football analyst for a number of years as well. So he's not only a great dude, he's a heck of a coach, had a great year last year as a head coach, but he's a wonderful interview. Great on the mic.
Well, you're wonderful too, sir. Thank you for the time. You're always welcome back here whenever we can have you. Thank you. Enjoy the first weekend of college football. It should be a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys. You're the best. Thanks for having me.
That one, Mr. Brad Howe joining us here. B Howe on the program. Let me get everything rolling here.
See how he does that? He talks them up like they can't lose. They this, that. It gets me nervous when he does that.